There's a lie you were given the moment you opened your eyes. A story whispered into your mind before you even knew there was a choice to question it. It goes like this: you're awake, you're living, you're choosing. But look closer. You are flooded from the moment you rise with cravings you didn't invent. You are tugged by invisible strings tied to every inch of your mind. Notifications, endless feeds, an unceasing hunger for more stimulation, more validation, more tiny bursts of chemical satisfaction. They call it life. They call it freedom. But what if it's not? What if what you call living is nothing more than an elegant addiction? What if you are asleep, so deeply that you mistake the dream for the world? You scroll before you even breathe. You answer before you understand. You reach, grasp, devour, react. Not because you choose to, but because you are driven. And the world has been built to keep you this way. Every screen, every product, every service, every carefully sharpened pixel and soundbite is a hand reaching out not to awaken you, but to deepen your sleep. They don't need you aware. They need you predictable. And you are. You are so easily nudged by craving that you mistake compulsion for choice. You are taught that wanting something is proof of freedom. But what if it's the opposite? What if every craving you obey is just another chain around your mind? Buddha called it tanha, the thirst. Not thirst for water, but thirst for existence, for sensation, for identity, for anything that numbs the terrifying silence beneath it all. You are trained to feed this thirst endlessly. Not because you are evil, not because you are weak, but because you are terrified. Terrified of the emptiness that yawns behind every fleeting pleasure. Terrified that if you stop wanting, you might realize you never knew who you were. And so you cling, you grasp, you drown in dopamine and call it living. The modern world did not create your addictions. It simply industrialized them. You were always vulnerable. The machine simply learned how to bottle your thirst, brand it, and sell it back to you 1,000 times a day. You are not navigating reality. You are navigating a maze built precisely to keep you reaching, reacting, consuming. Even the very tools that promise to free you, the books, the podcasts, the inspirational quotes, often exist to feed the same loop. A more enlightened addiction, a more sophisticated performance of thirst. You tell yourself you are seeking awakening. But what if even that is just another craving cleverly disguised? Another thing to reach for. Another identity to craft. You collect spiritual phrases like armor. You meditate not to dissolve, but to become better, stronger, more impressive. You pursue healing the way addicts pursue the next hit. You do the work because you secretly believe it will make you superior. Even your quest for peace becomes just another mask for fear. Because true awakening, true surrender, true stillness is not glamorous. It is not marketable. It is the slow, terrifying death of every mask you've ever worn. You say you want freedom, but what you really want is comfort disguised as freedom, control disguised as surrender, more self disguised as less. You don't want to dissolve. You want to be special for almost dissolving. And so you cling, you curate, you perform. You reach for a more beautiful version of the same chains you were given at birth, all the while whispering, "I'm almost free. I'm getting there." Not realizing every step you take toward becoming something is a step away from being. The addiction is not to pleasure, it is to self. You are addicted to your story, addicted to your reflection, addicted to the sensation of being someone instead of simply being. This is why real freedom feels terrifying, because it requires the death of the one you believe yourself to be. Not polishing, not improving, not upgrading, dying. The death of the performer, the death of the brand, the death of the curated, manufactured, desperately projected identity, until nothing remains, except pure, silent being. And you do not want that. No one raised in this world wants that at first. Because being addicted is safe. Being addicted is familiar. Being addicted is celebrated. What you call normal life is a carefully maintained hallucination, designed to keep you asleep enough to obey and restless enough to consume. This is not conspiracy. This is not grand villainy. It is simply the way systems evolve when craving is left unchecked. True awakening would destroy the entire economy, not because awakened people hate comfort, but because they no longer need to be fed. They do not crave validation. They do not crave accumulation. They do not crave applause. They move lightly, love freely, and fear nothing. And so they are dangerous, not to you, but to the machinery that feeds on your thirst. You are not awake. You are not even dreaming. You are inside a simulation of stimulation so profound that you forgot stimulation is not the same thing as aliveness. You forgot that a real life is not something you scroll through, but something you suffer through, stumble through, ache through, and ultimately surrender into. You forgot that peace is not the absence of pain, but the absence of needing to escape it. You forgot that love is not comfort, but vulnerability. You forgot that selfhood is not construction, but dissolution. If you want to wake up, you must first admit that you are not free. If you want to wake up, you must be willing to lose the only self you have ever known. The self that is fed by algorithms, the self that is addicted to applause, the self that calls itself awake because it knows the language of enlightenment. You must be willing to die, not physically, but psychologically, emotionally, existentially. The ego does not dissolve politely. It dies screaming. And every piece of you that clings to image, to story, to control, will claw at your mind as you let it go. This is why most will never wake up. They do not want freedom. They want a more beautiful dream. They want a softer addiction, a sweeter lie. They do not want to see the world as it is. Chaotic, brutal, breathtaking, unspeakably alive. They want to remain safe behind the glass wall of craving. But you who are still here listening, you already know. You have already felt the cracks. You have already glimpsed in quiet moments that there is a life waiting for you beyond the hunger. A life so still it terrifies you. A life so vast you can never control it. A life not built by reaching, but by surrendering. To awaken is not to add anything to yourself. It is to lose what was never you to begin with. The anger, the craving, the posing, the desperate reaching for something permanent in a world made only of flow. When the mind falls silent, truly silent, not through force, not through suppression, but through utter exhaustion of seeking, then you will know, then you will taste for the first time what it means to breathe without needing a reason, what it means to exist without justification, what it means to be. But be warned, true awakening is not what you imagine. It will not feel like bliss. It will not feel like victory. It will feel like drowning. It will feel like grief. It will feel like death. Because it is death. The death of the idea of you. The death of everything you were trained to love about your reflection. Only then, in the hollowed out silence of the mind, can the river carry you. Only then can you stop fighting the current you were always a part of. The machine cannot save you. The scroll cannot save you. The next purchase, the next badge, the next affirmation cannot save you. Because you were never asleep because you lacked stimulation. You were asleep because you believed stimulation was life. You were asleep because you thought feeling good meant being awake. But real life, real breathtaking life, often feels like terror. Because when the illusions fall away, you see how small you are, how temporary, how unspeakably beautiful in your fragility. And you see that no craving can save you from what you already are. Momentary, mortal, miraculous. Awakening is not a trophy you earn. It is not a badge you wear. It is not a performance you perfect. It is the soft, aching realization that you are always awake underneath it all. You just wrapped yourself in noise to forget. You drowned yourself in craving to avoid the quiet terror of being real. You hid behind your addictions because they made you feel more permanent. But permanence was never the point. Control was never the point. Only surrender, only flow, only the simple, brutal, exquisite act of being. And so I will not tell you to awaken. I will not tell you to resist the dream, because true awakening cannot be commanded. It can only be allowed when you are tired enough of clinging, when you are weary enough of chasing, when you are hollowed out by your own hunger. Then, without fanfare, without applause, you will simply let go, and you will see you are never addicted to the world. You are addicted to forgetting your place in it.